Hi, my name's Kate. I'm our transfer enrollment coordinator. So I work with all of our new incoming transfer students and I help you pick out your classes for the semester. And then I'll also help connect you with your faculty advisors and any other resources on campus. Thanks for being here.
All right, Sam.
Good morning, my name is Sam Hess. I also work with transfer students. I work with students with last name A through K. I will also be moderating our chat, so if you have any questions at any point, just drop them in the chat and I will bring them up to the panel. Thank you all for being here this morning.
All right, and then I will turn it over to our faculty members who are joining us today. We do have one more who will be hopping on just a few minutes late here. So Marlissa.
Hi, I'm Marlissa Stauffer. I'm the chair of the Division of Education. If any of you plan to be teachers, and if you don't plan to be teachers, let's have a conversation. I think you should be a teacher. My daughter is a ninth grader at Hilliard Davidson. And so I'm just having a daughter go into what you've been leaving and been at Columbus State doing after high school. So I'm not too far removed from your life, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. And Sonia?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Sonia Goshi. I am faculty in criminology and criminal justice here at Ohio Dominican, and I hope that some of you might be concerned about issues of justice. Our program focuses heavily on what the idea of justice is, and we look at it from a variety of angles. And I think that given if you're following the news at all or you're kind of keeping up with what's going on in the world, our major is a good place to kind of come explore what's happening and what's going on. So welcome you all. And even if you just want to explore, feel free to come sit in on a class and hear our discussion.
All right, and we do have one of our current transfer students from Columbus State joining us, so I will turn it over to him to introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Xander Hallway. I transferred here junior year. I'm now a senior. So I've been here a year and I went to Columbus State for 2 years.
And Xander, what program did you transfer into?
Psychology.
Okay. All right, well, we have a few questions prepared for our panelists, but I did want to open it up to see if you had any questions. Feel free to ask them or type them in the chat and we will get them answered. We'll start with some faculty questions. And what is something transfer students should be prepared for when starting their major classes at Ohio Dominican?
Is it okay for me, am I muted here? No, okay.
Nope.
Is it okay for me to ask Brianna and Miss Carswell what they're studying?
Yes.
Okay. Or what they think they might want to study?
Yes.
I guess I'll go first. So it's Brianna, or just Bree.
Okay.
I'm going to be going into environmental sciences.
Okay. Great.
My name's Amber. I'll be going into psychology.
Okay, good. Well, I know both your programs and I know the lead professors in those areas, so I think I can maybe answer those questions that she had just asked. But actually, I talk too much. Sonia, why don't you go first?
We'll say too, this is being recorded, so this will go out to other Columbus State students, so it's still worth getting your guys'
Thanks,
answers.
Sam. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You still want me to go first?
I do.
will.
Yes,
okay.
I do.
Okay, I will. So I think, one of the things I've noticed in the Columbus State students I've worked with is that you're all really well prepared to come to Ohio Dominican. So I think to allay any nerves or anxiety that you may have about transferring into a four-year institution, I've noticed Columbus State folks do really well and are really well prepared. What I would suggest is to be prepared for some of the big questions. We really tackle not just sort of technical issues, but a lot of really trying to understand what is going on within criminal justice institutions and how those institutions relate to the rest of society. And so I just ask that you come in with an open mind. We do a lot of pretty deep discussion in class. And really just be open-minded about what you might want to explore. I know I have students come in who think I want to work in corrections, and then they get out there and they become open-minded, like, oh, maybe I really want to explore this other area, because there's really quite a bit to explore. So I would just, come in with an open mind and be prepared to kind of think big questions, and let yourself explore the major and let yourself explore what's going on. We do have a number of internship opportunities. With COVID, that has shifted some of those, but hopefully by the time you guys would be coming in, that would be that would be restored, and we would have those opportunities back up fully and running. But I just, like I said, come in and explore, and I'll leave it at that.
Dr. Evelyn, do you want to answer that question too? It was, what advice do you have to transfer students?
Yeah, and just thank you very much, by the way. If I can, I'll give some context. So I'm the director of the graduate programs of business. So MBA programs, sport management programs at the graduate level kind of fall under my purview. So, one of the things that I think I would offer to graduate students, to transfer students is not only think about where the next 2 years or potentially 3 or potentially 1 are going to be, but what are the next steps? Some of the best students that we've had in MBA programs here and in other places that I've worked with graduate students have been transfer students that started in organizations just like this. So while that's, the next step is always be the last that you're thinking of. Graduate studies may very well be something that you would consider in the future. And that's part of that conversation that needs to happen with your advisor along the way. Whether it's regardless of the discipline of the program, just be sure to keep your immediate goals on the fore, but also be thinking of how this plays into your later educational aspirations.
Yeah, I was a transfer student when I was an undergraduate too, and I know that kind of sense of leaving one world and maybe it seems like other people know what's going on and you feel like you don't know what's going on. Our academic counselors are very good at helping you understand the pathway. Also, we intend as professors here, we're well acquainted with the idea of meeting with our students, even if it's via Zoom. You should feel comfortable to say, could I set up an appointment? I just want to talk with you about the major or the ideas related to the major. I think another thing, that kind of bit of advice that I would say is, don't evaluate too quickly. Sometimes some of you love new things, and so you're going to get in there and you're going to love that it's all new, and some of you don't really like new things, and you're like, but I liked it at this place and I felt more comfortable. Give it some time for you to get acclimated and feel comfortable and make this home. ODU is the kind, like Dr. Evelyn was saying here, you might come back and get a master's degree here too. You can draw on us when you leave graduate from here. If you come here, the Career Center is open to you for the rest of your life. Somebody I had emailed me, she graduated from here in 1986 and she was working with our Career Center. So this can be home for you, but don't allow yourself to, think, I'm not sure I fit in or all that far too quickly. You have to make it home, spend some time here, feel comfortable. The other thing I would say with being a transfer student is there's no reason you shouldn't have a good amount of peace of mind regarding what the next years would look like. You don't need to just jump off the cliff and hope it works out. The counselors are here and we as professors are here to help you think about what are you going to be taking every semester? What would it look like? And as Dr. Goshi said, what's kind of this long-term thing? Because I don't know, some of you, Bree, you might already know, okay, I'm going to go on and get my master's degree. I want to work for the Department of Natural Resources. You might have that all. I had no idea. I had barely gotten a major. So you should feel free to ask those questions and say, what can I do with this? Maybe you think, I already know that I want to work in schools as a school counselor. That's great. But if you don't know, we want you to ask those questions. and feel free. The other thing that Dr. Goshi was kind of responding to is you might have other questions that are beyond your major, and ODU is made for you to ask all those kinds of questions. Like, I feel uncomfortable with the way things are being handled right now in our world, or all those questions, ask. And you don't have to like agree with people, but you should feel free to ask those questions and be yourself in asking those questions. So that would be my advice. I find ODU a pretty open place and a safe place. I would say I've gone to schools where I didn't feel as safe, but I have felt safe here. So I think you should kind of get that as a prerequisite in your mind for how you want to handle things.
If I can add something to that, just really quickly, that I think is important. And I apologize for being late. I was in a very similar meeting through Zoom, and it turns out clicking takes longer than walking down the hallway for me. So I apologize about that. But I'm a finance professor, but I have researched and published a little bit on developmental ecology, right? So the one thing that I always tell students that are transferring or going to a different school or going to graduate school, stick with somebody who is doing the same. So if you can, there's a couple of you on the call. If you leave an environment at the same time or near the same time and enter new environments at the same time, you will find so valuable the conversations of what are you experiencing? How are you handling it? What challenges are you having? How did you figure that out? If a couple of you come from one place to Ohio Dominican, even better, right? Because you're making a decision at the same time, you can connect with somebody in your new environment. But regardless of your next institution, try to find somebody who's doing something similar and experience that change with them. I promise you that the conversations will be very meaningful to you. So hopefully that helps as well.
Yeah.
All right, thank you all so much. Xander, I have the next question for you, and it is, what is something that you found helpful when starting classes at Ohio Dominican?
One thing I found very helpful was at Columbus State, I didn't really know anyone in my classes. Like going through the year, you kind of get to know them a little bit. But at ODU, I'm with many of the same students in all the classes. So it's good to have someone else in there that can help you work through the problems. And a few classes, right now I have the same teacher for 3 classes, which is really nice because you get to know the teacher too. You get like the personal relationships, which is my favorite thing about Ohio Dominican is the personal relationships, the small campus. It's hard to walk 5 feet in this campus without seeing somebody you know, which is what I was looking for. I'm very glad it's here.
All right, thank you. So I will actually ask you another question. Is there anything that you wish you would have asked or wish you would have known going through that transition from Columbus State to Ohio Dominican?
I was lucky enough to have older brothers who also went through college, so my mom and dad helped me ask the right questions. So I don't really remember. I was kind of, I guess, bailed out for that. But it's important to understand that if you're living on campus, college is more than the classes. The classes are important, but like look into small things. Like if you're a runner, there's a great trail right by here. So just think about the things you do in everyday life and just make sure that the place you're going can accommodate to those things. And back to get on the question, I think I got off. What was the question again?
It's okay. You answered a different question that I was going to ask anyway.
And then another thing, which I like struggled with getting in, and I wish I knew, was classes here aren't offered every semester. So when I first got here, I just met with my with some advisor, which is great, and it helped me sign up for classes and things. but I wish I met with my like program advisor quicker, because I was bad at checking my email because it really wasn't that important at Columbus State for me. But here it's very important to check your school email. I don't even think I was signed into my school email at Columbus State because I don't know, that was probably a mistake. But here it's very important to get logged in and look at your email, because I guess I already described it, but I got a little messed up because one of the classes I needed to take first semester was only offered first semester, and it's not offered in 2 years. But even if you make a mistake like that, the teachers here and the advisors here will work with you. And I got lucky enough for them to work with me, and I can still graduate in 2 years. But just that's things to look out for.
Thank you very much. And in terms of faculty questions, so do you have, oh, sorry, I just lost my place completely. What is the coolest thing about your field, or one reason that you chose your discipline? And I apologize, my son is learning from home right now.
Hello.
I'll go ahead and go first. I didn't really choose. I was a high school teacher for 11 years. I taught English, and I was a debate coach. And I really didn't know what to go into. I just picked English because I liked the English classes, and I picked teaching because I worked in the, I was a student worker in the education division. I mean, I did not know what I was doing. But I have to tell you, I loved it. And I still, you know, it's interesting. I'm the kind of person who wants to love people and make a difference in our world. And there's absolutely no better place to do that than the school, than the classroom. It's great. It also, I love to travel, and I loved that I have my summers off. Usually by January, I knew where I was going in the summer, out of the country. So there are just a lot of wonderful things about being a teacher, and I'm sorry that it just gets bashed in the news, but people, you know, there are good teachers and not so good teachers, but most are great. And at the end of your days, you know, like, you don't remember the name of your pediatrician or who delivered your mail or who your mom's lawyer is or anything like that, but you remember your first grade teacher. So if you want to make a difference and you really want to care about other people, I think teaching's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I can go. I love that answer, Marlissa. And teachers are wonderful. I would just say our education department's amazing. I talk it up all the time. But I actually had a reason I think I shared that to explore and to be open-minded is my trajectory into my discipline was a bit winding. I started off as an undergraduate psychology major, and I was interested in kind of why people do the things they do. Particularly why do some kids fall into criminal behavior and why do some kids not? And honestly, I didn't even know criminology existed. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't even find out it was a thing until quite a bit down the road. So I finished an undergraduate in psychology, and then I was working with kids through an internship in the juvenile justice system. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pursue this PhD in psychology. I'm gonna focus on kids in the legal system. And then I got through my master's degree and was like, I don't think I want to be a practicing psychologist. And so I was still interested in kids and legal issues, and I thought I'm going to go to law school because I saw all these young people in my work. After my internship, I went to work in juvenile justice, and I was like, I'm going to go work and be an advocate. And so I went to law school, and then I discovered that, well, you know what I was really interested in was this question of justice. And I didn't really think I had the temperament to be well, I had a strong advocacy mindset. I didn't really think I had the temperament to be a lawyer. And so then I finally discovered this issue of criminology. But I mean, I'm like 27 at this point. And then I went, and I was tired. So I took some time off and I went to graduate school and got a PhD in criminology after that. So I've worked in and out of the system, multiple different areas in the system. and really discovered kind of who I was through that process. And so you don't have to stay in school as long as I did. However, I just, I've gotten a lot out of having an open mind and letting myself experience things, because sometimes you really don't know until you get into it. So I would just also encourage you to take advantage of the great, all the great departments at ODU for your electives. You thinking, hey, I've never taken an English class, or I've never explored an art class, or I've never taken, health sciences, like go and explore, because there's a lot of great options and teachers here at Ohio Dominican.
Yeah, hopefully, if nothing else, the potential transfer students on the call and watching the recording should take comfort in that we didn't always have this beautiful plan. It's not like, professors sat down in 9th grade and said, this is what I'm going to do for the next 12 years. I think if you walk up and down the hall, you'll find people just the same. And I followed the same path. I have a degree that focused in information systems, then one in finance, then one in education, none from the same schools. So, I think where I landed, and I'll pretend it was semi-planned in teaching finance, is that I liked answering questions for people. And I've just had a knack for explaining quantitative subjects in non-quantitative means. So you can always have a conversation about things in finance, because we all pay bills, we all save money. Some of us would like to have more. We might want to be smarter with it. That just, I enjoyed helping people with that. And I've done everything, from free business consulting to helping people that are really, really wealthy figure out what the next step is. So that's really fun for me, is to understand something, just like everybody mentioned, understand something that's important and then help others understand that as well. And I just found my value in doing that with financial information. So, and the coolest thing about my field, so I'm going to go 2 different directions. I also teach negotiation strategies, and that takes a quantitative lens. But the coolest thing about that is a lot of times I work with students that will come to me with a problem, and I'll get to say, try this, this, and this, use these words, not these words, say it this way, and hold your breath for 30 seconds after speaking. And they come running back into the office. It worked. And sometimes sometimes the students save their companies, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars because of things that I've helped them with. Sometimes a little bit of tweaking of wording helps the girl get the date on Friday night. It depends who you're working with, but that is communicating better, so people can do things that are better for themselves and for the world. And that is the best thing about that subject, is it's immediate return with just a little bit of tweaking and knowledge. So that's not maybe as altruistic as the others, but it's still certainly impactful, I think.
All right, thank you. Xander, I have one more question for you. I know you've got class soon, but how does your program compare at ODU from your Columbus State classes?
I would say Columbus State, I forget my teacher's name, unfortunately. I really like my psychology professor, and she prepared me well. But I was actually going into teaching at Columbus State, so I had a really good professor for teaching there too. But I'm now going into occupational therapy, meaning I need to take like anatomy classes and stuff. So I'd say my classes are more difficult, but I think that can be more attributed to I took more like the beginning classes at Columbus State, which is like what is common. So I think at ODU, I've had a little more trouble just because they're higher classes, but the teachers are always here to help, and I've never felt like I was lost in any way. And then I was gonna add something to what Mr. Evelyn was saying. I'm sorry. If I think of it, I will.
I was gonna say, if you think of it, just pop in. And I did want to share, we did have another transfer student who was unable to physically be on the panel today, but she did send us her answers. And so I wanted to just share her response to that question because I think it was very eye-opening. And I think she put it very well. She said, compared to my classes at Columbus State, I feel as if the workload, level of difficulty, and class sizes are extremely similar. It is definitely a lot harder to balance a social life and an education when you live on campus as opposed to living at home. But one thing that stood out to me when I took my first exam at ODU is that the professors do not provide study guides for tests. At Columbus State, for every class, I was given a review guide for every exam. Here at ODU, you must make paying attention, taking notes, and going to class top priority to receive a good grade on exams and assignments. And so that is something that I've heard over and over again from students who transfer in from a community college, is that it is a lot more self-responsibility in regards to studying for exams, taking notes, and not relying so much on the professor to outline exactly what is going to happen for you.
Yeah, at Columbus State, I don't mean to talk bad about Columbus State, but my classes had 20 kids in it, and most often there'd be 3 to 4 kids that were really in the class, and then a bunch of other kids that would show up every once in a while. And so I kind of just thought that was college. But when I got to ODU and I saw 20 kids on the first day, I was like, oh, this will last a few days. And then by the end of the semester, there were still 20 kids coming in every day and answering questions. At Columbus State, I just got used to answering pretty much every question the teacher asked, because there wasn't anybody in there that wanted to talk or seemed like they really cared. And here it's like, someone asks a question, there's like 3 hands up, and I'm like, what? And then I remember what I was gonna say about, he said it's good to come in with people that are kind of going through the same thing. So what I really enjoyed about ODU is they kind of, even though we're juniors or whatever grade you're in, your transfers, they kind of put you in with the freshmen in like orientation and stuff. And I actually made a lot of good friends there because there were other transfer students there too, because they're just starting ODU too. I was like, I'm not gonna have any friends because everyone already has their friend groups decided pretty much. And I quickly learned that's not true even for the upperclassmen. And I was lucky enough to put into roommates that I really like. Hear you like answer out a questionnaire thing about roommates. And I don't know if I got super lucky or not, but because college to me wasn't like just about classes, like I said. Columbus State, you get the classes done, but I wanted more than that. I wanted to like develop a, I guess, friend group that I'm gonna carry with me, whether that be finding like my future wife or just good friends that I stay in touch with. I wanted people to have the same values as me, which is why I chose ODU, because the faith is very important to me. So other schools, I know some kids that just went straight to a college and up far to kind of party, I guess. And I mean, that's great. They'll have some fun. And I'm not saying people don't have fun here, but it's important to choose a school where your virtues line up, because there's most likely other people who are also going there for virtues, and that's going to carry on a lot farther than someone you partied with, personally.
Right, thank you. So I have one more question for faculty, and you've all kind of answered this a little bit, but what general advice do you have for students looking to transfer to Ohio Dominican? And Marlissa, I know you said that you were a transfer student, and so I kind of want to ask you like how that has impacted how you work with transfer students.
It's interesting because that was it's very similar to what happened with me. I would suggest that you not be shy about getting involved with something that you're interested in. When I transferred, you know, it was a small liberal arts school like this, a faith-based institution. And so I just tried things out. I did some theater, even though I wouldn't have done it at the other place where I had attended because it was too big. I'd attended like 10,000 people at that school probably, or maybe not quite that many. And I would have thought, oh, it's too big, I can't participate. But it's not too big here. If you want to try something, like try student government. If you sing, be in the choir. If you want to see if you could do something in acting or whatever, just there are lots of places, and I think ODU is really accepting of people who just want to be part of something. It's not like there are all, you know, people here who have to be in charge and they're setting all these boundaries and you have to, scrap all that, because it's not like that here. This is a place for you to be involved if you want to be involved. And actually, if you want a leadership position, get involved. You're not entering too late where you couldn't be in a leadership position. If you want it, try those things. So when I transferred, I actually did a whole lot more at the small school than I did at the large school I attended. And that's what I would encourage you to do. It's kind of like Xander had said, you know, college, my first 2 years, I mainly just went to class and I was a student worker. But my last 2 years, I really became part of the campus. And you can do that at ODU if you want. You can really be part of the campus and enjoy that aspect of going to college. You can get the college experience here. So that would be my advice.
I'll go ahead just so we're not staring at each other for any longer. I do want to stick by my original statement, and I appreciate Xander kind of backing me up on that. Find somebody to go through this transition with. The statistics back it up. There's research that backs it up. Find a friend that's going through the same thing and have that experience with them, so you have somebody that understands. And in addition to that, and I'll just be very brief, remember the day that you go to orientation, you're an Ohio Dominican student, right? Don't let being a transfer student define your experience, especially for that first semester. You're a Panther when you get here, and that is who you are, and you're one of us, and you're welcome to do government. You're welcome to do all of the activities. Don't let that define your experience. It just happens to be your path to coming here, which is different or the same than other people. So I do hear it's good that the experience is different. Find somebody to experience it through, but that does not in any way at all discount who you are the moment you walk on the campus. So I would kind of have that pride as you're coming along as well.
One thing I'd like to add is when hopefully you were done, sorry.
You're fine, Xander, go ahead.
One thing, when I got here, I was kind of scared because pretty much everyone who lives on campus was an athlete of some sort, like involved in football, basketball, soccer, something like that. And I wasn't. So you kind of get in the mindset of thinking of them as like athletes and not like people, kind of. So and they always just hang out with each other. So it can be really like scary to like I'm not a football player. I can't talk to a football player. I'm not a soccer player. But I mean, they're not all just soccer players or just football players. So although it may seem like you're an outcast because you're not an athlete, you're really not. And you can get involved with people that are like, they're more than that. And you're not different, that you're still just students more than.
All right, thank you. And so, Sonia, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, and I just want to echo what other people were saying, but to let to draw on the strengths of the experience of being a transfer student, there's a lot in addition to what Dr. Evelyn was saying and Marlissa were saying, that we're sort of we're sort of a family here at ODU, and I think every family member you have your strengths and things that you bring with you to the whole thing. So you bring your sum total, your experience to ODU, which is a valuable thing. I can just say from my experience working with Columbus State students, they have a wealth of experience that they draw on that adds to the classes. It adds to our environment at ODU. So to just stand strong in that, and also to let some of the people you partner with, fellow students, but also faculty, faculty at ODU, in my experience of going to a lot of college myself and working in other places, are some of the most relationship-oriented people I've ever worked with. They genuinely care about the people that they work with and the students that they're working with. So let your faculty, and you will get, I mean, if you end up in criminal, whatever major you end up with, you'll end up with 1 or 2 faculty. So you'll have an opportunity to really build a relationship with them. And so, right, you know, introduce yourself. Feel free to come up and do not be shy. We expect it, we welcome it, we encourage it. I say it all the time, and I have a call with a student right after this. So just want to say, let somebody who walks with you on your journey be a faculty member also. That will be it for me.
All right. Well, Amber and Brianna, do you have any questions? I kind of went through our list, so I would just want to make sure that if you have any questions, we're sure to answer those as well.
Feel free to unmute, mute, and ask them if you want to, instead of dropping them in the chat.
I would also like to add something. I also was a transfer student, and I went to 3 different colleges. One was private, one was a community college, and then one was a state college. So I agree with a lot of the things that were said, and something that I do wish, and I guess I did have, but I did have somebody that I kind of partnered with to go through the college journey with, and I did connect with people that had transferred to my last school, and so yes, I am no stranger to the transfer game, and so I feel like my role here makes sense.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to join us and participate in this panel. We really appreciate it. We're here to help you throughout this entire process, whether it is the admission process, looking at scholarships, advising, and then ultimately working with faculty to make that transition to campus at ODU. So again, we really appreciate you taking the time today, and we will have this recording available that we will share with everybody. And that will wrap us up. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and thank you again.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.